The official story of Martin Schrand is that he was shot and killed January 5th, 1958, while walking guard duty in the Philippine Islands. The Marines believe the youth was wounded fatally by an accidental discharge from his own weapon. And of course, Oswald was stationed at the same place, Cuby Point in Subic Bay, at the time of this incident. And Harold Weisberg's treatment of this issue is very weird and perhaps revealing. I'm going to be reading from a book of his, Chapter 17, The Not-So-Jolly Green Giant. I assume that Not-So-Jolly Green Giant is the name of the book and not the chapter, but I'm not really sure. I got this from his archive, and I forget the circumstances. I don't know if I just saved this one chapter or what. I probably did because it has to do with Martin Schrand. And this is not the entire chapter. I'm just reading the part that is of interest to me. Anticipating correctly what Jenner and all had longed for, a few of these former Marines suggested that it may have been Oswald who killed PFC Martin Schrand. What the Commission got from the Navy it had no use for, because Oswald did not kill Schrand. Schrand killed himself. The FBI had gotten such a bum steer from another of Oswald's former mates on the charge that there might be something to that rumor. The FBI headquarters teletype its St. Louis office to go to the Federal Records Center there and immediately review Schrand's service records for circumstances surrounding his death, and specifically whether it occurred while on sentry duty with Oswald. That FBI teletype that Weisberg refers to is based upon an FBI interview with Donald Peter Camerata, a Marine who knew Oswald in the Marines. And regarding the Schrand incident, starting in the second sentence here, Camerata related that Schrand was killed while serving on sentry duty with Oswald during maneuvers in the Philippine Islands. The death of Schrand was ruled accidental, but it was rumored Oswald may have been responsible. And this is from a Jenner and Liebler memo regarding Camerata. Camerata was with Oswald at Jacksonville, Biloxi, El Toro, the Far East, and Santa Ana. In other words, almost all of Oswald's Marine career. He's actually a little incorrect here. They were both in the Far East, but they didn't serve together in the Far East. Thus, although his statement to the FBI runs only one page, my suspicion is that he must remember more about Oswald than he told the FBI. Moreover, these things he does remember are interesting. For example, he goes into detail concerning Oswald's appreciation of Russian culture and is the only man who unequivocally stated that it had been rumored that Oswald was responsible for Schrand's death. I therefore think we should take Camerata's deposition. So it seems to me, and I see no evidence to the contrary, that Albert Jenner was responding in a perfectly reasonable manner to the FBI report he had read about Camerata. Yet Weisberg, as I've underlined here, seems to think that there's some kind of unnatural longing by Jenner for Camerata to implicate Oswald in Schrand's death. This is just one example, that I'll get to some more, where Harold Weisberg is treating Schrand's death dismissively as it might relate to Oswald, when I think that Jenner is showing a perfectly healthy interest here. In fact, I think Jenner didn't pursue this enough. The Warren Commission asked for specific information, like who was on duty when Schrand was shot, and the Marine Corps was not able to provide any information about that. They had their official reports they made out, and we know one person's name who was on guard duty, but we don't know where Oswald was, and apparently nobody could ever tell us where Oswald was, and all they would have to have done would be to interview the Marines who served at Cuby Point when Oswald did, and they probably would have been able to find out whether or not Oswald was stationed on guard duty at the same time. But that was never done. So I don't think Jenner is showing any unnatural interest in implicating Oswald in Schrand's death, yet that's the way Weisberg characterizes it here. And the effect of Weisberg doing this is to take your attention off of Schrand's death and put it on to Jenner. So, to me, this looks like some kind of a diversion by Weisberg. And continuing with Weisberg, 4 months after this November 29, 1963 teletype, J. Lee Rankin, the Commission's General Counsel, in April 1964, asked the Navy for 2 copies of the records on that Schrand investigation. There had never been any doubt about it. Schrand killed himself, and only the nutty marine rumor-mongers made up the attractive fiction that Oswald did it. Well, if I was a Weisberg fan, I'd be very embarrassed at this point. This is just propaganda. Nutty marine rumor mongers. Who are those? Who are those people? Camarada? He heard a rumor and he reported it. I think that's not nutty. There have been, and if Weisberg had read the report and he got it, he ordered it from the Navy or wherever. If he had read it, he would realize that there had been doubt about how Schrand killed himself. In fact, it was very mysterious because his gun was not supposed to be loaded, and he didn't commit suicide, they determined. And Weisberg later, in some other writing, said it was a suicide. But their determination was that it was an accidental discharge, that he had loaded his gun, contrary to orders, that he was doing his, whatever the military guys do with their guns, when they fling their guns around, they go through their motions with their guns, and he accidentally dropped it, and it discharged because the butt plate hit the ground, and it accidentally shot him under his armpit and up through his neck and shoulder. But they only came to that determination because they couldn't find anyone else there. They didn't think there was anyone there to shoot him. They didn't think anyone could commit suicide that way. So it was a process of elimination that they came to the determination that it was an accident. He's completely dismissing this incident. And this guy is supposed to be a respectable researcher. He was in the OSS, and he was a U.S. State Department intelligence analyst. This guy should be a professional. He should know what he's doing, but he either doesn't know what he's doing or he's gaslighting. Now here Weisberg says Schrand was on duty at the sentry post at the crypto van. Again, this shows he doesn't know what he's talking about, or he's pretending he doesn't know what he's talking about, because Schrand was not on duty at the crypto van. Part of the report on Schrand's death is a statement by Corporal Ronald L. Rowe, who was corporal of the guard. The sergeant of the guard just happened to have that night off because he had been working hard, and so the corporal took over. On or about 1905, January 5, 1958, Lieutenant Cherry and myself were checking guard posts at the airstrip area. We had checked the crypto watch and were driving around the other side of the hangar to check another sentry when PFC Persons, who was crypto watch at the time, whistled for us. He told us he had heard a shot fired from the area of the vehicles parked on the other side of the airstrip. Immediately, Lieutenant Cherry and I drove over and found Private Schrand laying on the ground, bleeding very badly. So what this means is they had just checked the watch at the crypto van. It was PFC Persons who was guarding the crypto van, not Schrand. And Schrand wasn't anywhere near the crypto van. He was on the other side of the airstrip. So Weisberg doesn't know what he's talking about. And what this means is that just before they went to go check the hangar where the U-2 probably was, just before that is when they heard the shot from Schrand's shotgun. So they turned around and went over to where Schrand was, and they never got to the hangar where the U-2 probably was. And this, I think, suggests that the shooting of Schrand could have been a diversion so that whoever was guarding the U-2 hangar could go in and grab the U-2 secrets, whatever they might be. I can't prove that happened, But this is why it would be important to know where Oswald was. If Oswald was guarding the hangar with the U-2 in it, then that would be very interesting, and they could have found this out, but apparently nobody tried. I don't think Albert Jenner was interested enough in this, contrary to what Weisberg says. And this report gives us 3 names of people who were involved with the guard duty when Schrand was shot. We have Corporal Lowe, we have Lieutenant Cherry, and we have PFC Persons. These 3 people could have been interviewed by the Warren Commission or the FBI or somebody to ask them whether or not Oswald was on guard duty when this happened. They probably would remember, because after the incident, people are going to talk to each other. They're probably going to remember who was guarding the hangar, which is where I think Oswald might have been. But nobody asked. No determination was made. The report of Schrand's death did not mention who else was on duty, other than what's in this report here and the Lieutenant Cherry report. And Weisberg's interest here really is all about trying to say that Oswald had some beyond top secret clearance, because that he had crypto clearance, and therefore he had to have crypto clearance because they were guarding the crypto van, or he did things with the crypto van. I don't know whether he's off base there or not. I mean, the crypto van, as I understand it, is where they would go to do their radar work, which Oswald would have to do because he was a radar operator. But I don't think that means he has top secret clearance or beyond top secret clearance. So I really don't understand what Weisberg is fixating on here. He wrote letters to Bugliosi about this because Bugliosi wanted to say Oswald didn't have any high security clearance, and Weisberg said he did. But it seems to me a whole bunch of nothing, a whole bunch of silliness, and Weisberg is supposed to be better than that. So I think Weisberg might have been acting as a kind of gatekeeper with this Martin Schrand thing. I think there's plenty of good reason to be suspicious of it and to investigate it, and it could have been investigated, but it wasn't. And there are other examples. There are some Army intelligence documents. I couldn't find that when I went looking, but he wrote a letter to somebody saying he wanted to keep them confidential because he was afraid that they would be sensationalized. He didn't want the stuff to go public, at least not right away. And also, as you can see here, he corresponded with Henry Wade, and Henry Wade wrote him letters calling him his good friend. And so he had good access, as you might expect a gatekeeper would have. And I wouldn't trust anything Weisberg said. I would check it out if you want to have a genuine understanding of things. I don't think I would adopt his understanding of anything.